Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Friday and happy New Year and happy January 2nd. We will be doing two shows today without running around. So everything's all, I'll be able to do two shows today. A lot of good stuff out again tonight. Last night's show was awesome. Over 400 views, you guys. So that's good. Thanks for everybody supporting.
Has decided to respond to the American public.
I know a lot of people are at work, but I'll go on and do the show. Excuse me. We'll start off with the first video. Again. Okay. Start off the first show with. We'll start with Steve Bannon.
Resistance group to the mullahs, but let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to MEK in a second. Just what is the overall picture of the country and the economy? Because now you've got visuals from all over Persia where people have taken to the streets because they just can't live in this economy. Can you get us up to date? Like, what's the basic numbers of how bad things are? I mean, why now? How bad has it gotten that they're actually now in the streets, and many of those advocating for overthrow of the mullahs? And of course, now they're shooting into crowds. And remember, the shooting into crowds on a mass basis is what brought down the Shah of Iran back in 1979. Todd Wood, your thoughts?
Well, thanks for having me on, Steve. What your audience needs to know is that this is an oligarchy that is raping the country. This is a very mineral-rich country, as you know, as you've said. The Persian people have a long and proud history. But the government has been, the IRGC in particular, have been just essentially raping the country. This is a country where half the people don't have an adequate supply of fresh water. People can't farm. They can't support their families. The economy's collapsed. Inflation is running between 30 and 40% a year. The currency has collapsed over 80%. Their debt in an oil-rich country is approaching 50% of their GDP. And the people are just not being served where they can function. So they have no future. And the youth of the country especially have nothing to lose. So they are rising up as they have over and over the last few decades. You know, and what's important is a lot of these youth are women, and they're fearless. And a lot of them are being killed, and they just keep coming in waves against the regime. It's quite fascinating if you actually know what's going on in the country. But I agree with you. We don't need a war. We need to support the people on the ground to remove the regime. The Iranian people are well capable of doing that themselves.
When you say support the people, listen, I mean, America, we got enough problems. We got problems all over here we've got Muslims have taken over New York City, right? They're laughing in your face. They're laughing in your face in Minnesota. We're going to have Lindell here in a second. The way they even got the rigged elections up there. We're going to Texas this week, this coming Friday. And I'll talk more about that later with this Islamic takeover of Texas, the beginning stages of it. We got enough problems here. You talk about 50% of debt. Hell, we're over 100% of debt. So I understand that they're a dire situation. But when you say support, this is the problem. You got now Bibi and Tel Aviv Levin, right? You got this entire crowd saying, oh, yeah, now let nature take its course. We have basic sanctions on the regime. The biggest sanction, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still not stopping the oil supply. In the oil they're selling to the CCP, illegal, illegitimate. There should be no way that oil is going out because that's sanctioned and specifically sanctioned to go to the CCP, of which they think the CCP signed a 40-year deal from. Isn't that a legitimate target to stop the oil from being monetized with the Chinese Communist Party?
I completely agree. Yes, that is a huge, I guess, influx of currency into the regime, and it needs to be shut off. That's a no-brainer. My only point is, at least from the bully pulpit standpoint, just support the Iranian people. These are kids coming out. Last round in 2019, they shot 1,500 of them. I mean, they put girls in cages and put them in prison and let them rot. I'm not joking. I mean, it's horrible what this regime has done over 4 decades to the Iranian people. Yeah, but if you're going around, look, I can pick 50 regimes throughout the world. If we're going to do that, you're back to being the world's policeman. Yes, it's horrible, but revolutions are horrible. I mean, if you're going to overthrow it, it's their responsibility. If it looks like we have any CIA involvement, Mossad involvement, that's going to just hunker down the mullahs. Anyway, hang on. We're going to hold you through the break. We'll talk about MEK, all of it. But it's a very tenuous situation. The president has come out with a tweet, overnight in the early morning that we're locked and loaded to support these folks and understand the president's overall strategic.
Okay, that was under 5 minutes. Got a lot of short ones to do. Come on. God dang it.
The plant by turning into a scaled warehouse.
This wasn't an isolated move either. PepsiCo has been trimming across North America, New York, Florida, now California. But California is different because it markets itself as untouchable, as the future, as the model. That's why this shutdown hits harder. It exposes a gap between the speeches and the ground reality.
For good. I'm in shock, basically, because, I didn't think this was going to happen. We were given no notification, and I'm working Friday and then come to work. Can't come to work Monday.
They told us that the plant is not doing good. There's other facilities around that's going to be closed.
And what happens to the workers? That's where the urgency turns personal. 432 people didn't transition into green careers. They didn't magically land clean energy jobs. They got severance and uncertainty. Retraining sounds nice in policy documents, but retraining doesn't replace decades of seniority. It doesn't replicate stable wages. It doesn't protect families when rent is due. What's dangerous is how normalized this has become. These shutdowns are no longer treated as emergencies. They're framed as modernization, optimization, progress. The language
Hey,
is smooth,
Andy.
but the outcome is brutal.
I hope you
Communities
heard
lose
everything what
anchor
I said
employers,
earlier.
local economies shrink, and the
Good
state
show
moves
today, a
on
lot of
without addressing the
intel.
damage.
Union reps say the closure comes just months after finalizing a new 3-year contract involving a little more than 70 union employees. And recently, employees were told that this Pepsi plant was doing well.
If you had asked me, is this facility going to be open another 10 years? I would have looked you in the eye and unequivocally said yes.
The PepsiCo plant shutdown should have triggered alarms in Sacramento. Instead, it barely registered. Because admitting the cost means admitting trade-offs. It means admitting that policy choices have consequences. And it means facing an uncomfortable truth. California isn't just transitioning industries, it's losing them quietly. This is how industrial decline looks now. Not explosions, not chaos. Silence. Factories stop expanding. Then they stop upgrading. Then one day, they stop. By the time people notice, the decision was made months ago in a boardroom far away.
Pepsi says employees will receive full pay and benefits for the next 2 months. But longtime employees, like 29-year employee Daryl Smith, say more needs to be given to him and his fellow workers.
For people that's been there for 20, 30 years, give us our retirement early. People that's been there lower, place them somewhere else.
If a 55-year food manufacturing plant can vanish without a real public reckoning, the next one will too.
There's
and
3
the next.
parts.
Until the question isn't why companies are leaving, but why anyone was shocked when they did. Here's where the story gets uncomfortable and honestly a little absurd. Because the PepsiCo plant shutdown wasn't a one-off mistake. It wasn't a bad quarter. It wasn't California being picked on. This was a pattern. A very clear, very corporate pattern that keeps repeating while officials pretend each closure lives in its own little bubble.
There is a lot of uncertainty for about 100 workers at the Muncie PepsiCo distribution center. The company just announced plans to close that location. PepsiCo told us it is working right now to reduce impact to the workers.
PepsiCo didn't just wake up one morning and decide Rancho Cucamonga had bad vibes. Across North America, they've been trimming weight as 287 jobs gone. Orlando, Florida, 422 jobs wiped out in late 2025. Different states, different politics, same outcome. This wasn't ideological, it was surgical. When sales slow and costs rise, multinational companies don't argue feelings. They open spreadsheets, and spreadsheets don't care about speeches. Here's the key part people miss. California isn't being singled out, but it is uniquely vulnerable. High energy costs. Heavy regulatory layers, compliance rules stacked on top of compliance rules. When executives sit down to decide where to cut, they start with the most expensive places to operate. That's not a threat. That's how global corporations stay alive. The PepsiCo plant shutdown wasn't a protest. It was a survival move.
In a statement, the multi-billion...
Okay, that's the first one. That's Pepsi update. All right. Which is which here? Heart. Shoot. Where is part 1? Okay, this is part 1.
After PepsiCo announced production operations will end.
As it plans to close its Frito-Lay plant in Orlando. This includes the manufacturing and the warehouse operations.
Because this could have, this is one of those things that could have a profound effect throughout the community.
The governor of California loses it as the PepsiCo plant shutdown exposes a reality the state keeps trying to bury. Yes, I'm talking about a 55-year industrial backbone ripped out quietly while officials look the other way. When the last factory goes dark, what collapses next is the illusion that California is still in control.
A local union is now calling out the company PepsiCo for unlawfully closing its facility on 51st Street. Union leaders say the company gave no warning to employees. The union is proposing to meet with the company this Wednesday for an explanation into the reason why.
The PepsiCo plant shutdown didn't come with a warning. It happened quietly, which is exactly why it matters. After 55 years of nonstop production, the Rancho Cucamonga Frito-Lay factory went dark in June 2025, and California barely blinked. That silence wasn't accidental. It was strategic.
The move impacts 79 workers. In a statement from the company, it says in part, the decision to no longer operate at 51st Street is a difficult one. This is a more than 60-year-old building that has physical limitations. Our top priority is to support our employees during this transition.
I came to the luncheon and everybody's there. We said, sit down, everybody sit down. The guy says, sorry, but we're closing the plant. The plant is be closed now.
For 45 years, Juan Gonzalez says he worked as a forklift operator.
This wasn't a failing factory. This wasn't an outdated demand. This was a deliberate PepsiCo plant shutdown carried out under the cover of restructuring language. 432 workers were cut loose. And here's the part that should make people angry. Officials can still say the site is operational because warehouse and distribution functions remain. That single technicality allows the shutdown to be softened, blurred, and buried. Manufacturing jobs vanished, but on paper, the location still exists. That's how modern shutdowns work now. You don't close a factory. You surgically remove the good jobs and call it efficiency.
Yeah, they were ready to go to work, Alex. They found out at about 5:45 this morning that this decades-old Pepsi plant was going to be closed for good. Pepsi says the building is pretty old.
The Rancho Cucamonga plant wasn't just another building. It had been running since 1970. Generations passed through those doors. Families planned their lives around those paychecks. This place is tied to the origin story of Flamin' Hot Cheetos, one of the most iconic snack brands in the world.
Pepsi says the closure is driven by business needs. The company says it will provide transition assistance, career support, and benefits to employees who are impacted.
And yet, when the PepsiCo plant shutdown happened, it was treated like a footnote. No acknowledgement of what was lost. No accountability for what comes next.
This is something that has been extremely frustrating for many of the workers here. Like you said, they showed up to work and within, they say just a couple of minutes, asked to go home and try to very quickly find a new job.
This is where the pressure starts building because this shutdown crashes straight into California's favorite talking point, green jobs. We keep hearing that the future is cleaner, smarter, better, but the present looks a lot like factories closing and workers being discarded. Food manufacturing should be one of the safest industries in the state. People don't stop eating during recessions. Snacks don't disappear when markets tighten. If even this sector can't hold ground, something deeper is breaking.
So about 150 workers will be out of job.
Found a lot of good stuff today. I'm doing 2 shows, 2 hours. A little 1 to 3 and then 5. So this is interesting with Pepsi. On the Pepsi.
Y'all can't do people like that. Y'all a big company. At least give us a heads up.
Now this is where the language games kick in. You've probably heard people say PepsiCo closed its last factory in California. Then someone jumps in and says, actually, Modesto is still open. And technically, they're right. That's the dangerous half-truth. Yes, Modesto is still running, very much so. But Modesto isn't proof that California manufacturing is healthy. Modesto is proof that California manufacturing has been concentrated, centralized, and narrowed down to a single surviving giant. One plant standing doesn't mean the system is strong.
Oh, wow.
It means everything else didn't make it.
Many workers say they are worried layoffs could be coming to PepsiCo, one of North Texas's biggest employers. The company just agreed to cut 20% of its soda and snack lineup and lower some prices. And we know some plants are closing, and now PepsiCo has asked some employees to work from home.
This is how the trick works. Headlines say last factory, critics say not true, and the conversation dies there. But the reality sits in the middle. California didn't lose all manufacturing. It lost most of it. And the part that survived did so because it could afford to play the game. Modesto is massive, about 80 acres, over 1,100 workers. It's not a plant, it's a fortress. LEED Gold certification, zero emission tech, sustainability upgrades that cost real money. This is the kind of facility politicians love to tour in hard hats because it photographs well and sounds impressive. And it is impressive, but it also proves something uncomfortable.
More than 1 million American workers have been laid off this year, several hundred of them in Brawley, California.
That plant to your business?
Like 80%.
80% gone.
Yes, for us, yes. You're left with nothing.
Only factories with deep pockets survive now. If a plant can't justify massive capital investment, it doesn't get transitioned. It doesn't get help. It doesn't get saved. It gets erased quietly. The PepsiCo plant shutdown in Rancho Cucamonga wasn't a failure to modernize. It was the result of not being worth modernizing. Sustainability didn't level the playing field. It narrowed it. Compliance became a pay-to-play system. You either spend millions to stay in the club, or you're shown the exit with a polite press release.
Parent company PepsiCo Food says manufacturing at the plant has stopped, but warehouse, distribution, and transportation will still be operational. The announcement means hundreds of workers will be laid off. Several employees tell KTLA they were given 10 weeks of severance pay, but were not given an opportunity to transfer. The snack industry has seen a decline in sales recently as consumer habits shift and federal policies target highly processed foods.
California doesn't lose companies with dramatic exits. There's no suitcase moment, no farewell speech. What happens instead is quieter and far more dangerous. Costs creep up, regulations stack, energy prices spike, logistics get tighter, and companies don't leave. They pause, they stop upgrading, they stop expanding. Then one day, the reinvestment never comes back. By the time a PepsiCo plant shutdown hits the news, the decision was already made months earlier. That's why these closures feel sudden to the public, but inevitable inside boardrooms. It's not an explosion, it's a slow leak. Air hissing out of the tire while everyone keeps driving, pretending nothing's wrong. California's economic power isn't collapsing, it's thinning, invisibly. And this is where political panic sets in, off camera. Leaders avoid talking directly about manufacturing exits because there's no clean spin. So accountability gets replaced with press releases. Closures become modernization. Job losses become transitions. And future shutdowns will be framed as climate progress, even when communities are bleeding jobs. The uncomfortable question no one wants to ask is this: can California actually sustain both its policies and its workforce? How many Modestos can realistically exist? Food security, logistics, employment, these aren't abstract ideas, they're power. And when that power erodes quietly, the damage shows up too late. If this keeps happening, what's actually left?
Daughter in school, I have a house.
Okay, so that was part 3 parts on the Pepsi. Something's going on with Pepsi there. Chico, 3 minutes on this one.
26, and we already have some unbelievable stories. And when I say unbelievable, I mean it's actually very hard to believe. So I'll summarize. Here we have this man. He is a manager at a Somalian daycare in Minnesota. And we've all heard what's going on with daycares in Minnesota, allegedly. This daycare got robbed, but they weren't there to rob cash or anything like that. They went there to steal enrollment papers. Now, there's a lot of holes in this story. And no, I'm not just talking about this hole, okay? Here's a couple clips of the press conference that they had, and he's talking about what happened.
Today, I want to talk about what happened yesterday. Yesterday morning, I was called by the owner because unfortunately someone came in to our daycare. We looked and saw what happened, and we saw that the suspect came in from the back. As we walked around the daycare, we saw that our office doors was broken into as well. We saw that, unfortunately, there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone.
So, of course, there's reporters there. And what do reporters do at press conferences? they ask follow-up questions. And here's a couple follow-up questions the reporters asked.
A couple Republican lawmakers have already either said or insinuated that they believe this was a made-up vandalism to get attention. I'm wondering what your response would be to that.
This is not made up. You can see what happened here. We wouldn't do this for no reason, for attention. We're just showing you that what happened to us is real. And yesterday was our daycare. Tomorrow might be someone else's. We don't know. So this has to stop.
Could you also respond to, there's a spokesperson for the police department told us that it was reported that there was no loss and that nothing was taken. Is that incorrect? Like, was nothing reported that was taken? What was
Hey, Lori.
The police officer came in the morning. We told him what happened, and we told him
a lot of
that
intel out today.
from what we've seen,
shows.
we haven't seen, like, from in the position that we were in that moment, we were all worried about what was damaged and everything. We told him that we're going to check everything out. We're going to call him back, and we're going to tell him that what's taken.
So there were things taken?
Yes.
And you did call them back to tell them there were things taken?
Yes, we did.
You characterized the person who came in as him. Do you have any clues as to who this person was, and are you worried about the sensitive information that was taken?
We don't know the exact person. We just saw from the security
Last
camera
night's show was
our
big.
neighbor, our
Over
neighboring
400
store.
we got in our
We
first
saw
show.
maybe an individual or
Awesome
two.
show
We haven't
last
seen because
night.
we've seen an
Thanks,
image
everybody.
like, walking around. So I'm just saying him or her because of what I saw.
And what time can you clarify, like, that this happened?
The
We'll be back
breaking.
at 5 o'clock. We'll go
This
1 to
happened
3
around
and then 5
yesterday,
o'clock.
midnight. After from 3 a.m. until 6, somewhere in between.
Okay, so he's saying midnight first, then 3. The guy asked about, oh, you mentioned he. How do you know it's a guy? He's backpedaling and saying, oh, him or her, blah, blah, blah. He was talking about the surveillance footage. And randomly, the surveillance footage is so blurry. You would never know that was a girl or guy, by the way. And they said you didn't mention reporting anything was stolen. Meanwhile, you have this Karen that is just like up in open arms, hemming and hawing in the background. Oh, I'm a Karen. So we're supposed to believe that initially the robbers tried to saw their way here, but the sawing didn't work. So then they decided to saw a square in cinder blocks and make a tunnel that goes into the daycare, randomly knowing where the office is, break into the office, and then go into this little filing cabinet and take all the enrollment papers and employees' papers and contact information from the children that went there. And the only evidence they have of the robbers, the enrollment paper robbers, was this blurry security footage. Okay, when I say that out loud, how ridiculous is that? Are we really supposed to believe this? Now, we can't forget, a couple days before this happened, the Department of Health and Services said we are putting a freeze on all the funding for daycares in Minnesota until we figure out the fraud situation and we get all the records from the children who went to these daycares to prove that there was children in the daycares. And randomly, they took all their records. And you're also trying to tell me that you did not have a computer system set up with all of this information? I don't buy it one bit. Miss Karen over here, she believes it 100%. She has a sign, racism has no place in daycare. Dude, this isn't about race. This is about fraud. Wouldn't you want to get to the bottom of it, of where your tax dollars are going? That's what I'm just so... I know they say Minnesota nice, but are they Minnesota naive? Well, folks, we are officially in.
She did that pretty good. There was an earthquake today.
They got a 6.5 earthquake. We got to look in Mexico City. They're worried about aftershocks with this massive 6.5 earthquake. It comes a couple weeks after the crazy earthquakes that have been happening on the Pacific, around the Pacific Rim. So we're going to talk about this a little bit. I'm going to get some clips up, and we're going to see what's going on here with this earthquake. It happened. Matter of fact, it happened during when the president was speaking, and they had to evacuate the whole situation. I'm going to get that up here shortly, too, to find out what in the heck is going on. And is there any tsunami warnings out there? I don't see anything at this time, but earthquake today, massive 6.5 earthquake shakes Mexico, disrupts President Claudia's presser. That happened today. So we're going to stay in the chat here a little bit and talk about these earthquakes that have been happening, along with solar flares. I always think it's all connected in some way, shape, or form. A strong earthquake registering 6.5 magnitude struck southern Mexico on Friday, according to the USGS. They're saying no tsunami warnings were issued, though it did happen offshore here. So that makes that situation interesting, too. No tsunami warnings for the area. So that's some good news. See a lot of people coming in. Yeah, there has been multiple. It seems like there possibly could be some aftershocks too.
Okay. So the death clock lady came out yesterday again, but I think she had 2 videos out. I don't know. Did we? Let me know if we played this one or not.
Great. The U.S. debt clock message today says the great silver breakout dollar to silver ratio in 1913 was $2.66 per ounce, which was when the Federal Reserve was signed into law, which created the fake fiat money system based on debt, enslavement. The silver has been suppressed, and now the U.S. debt clock is projecting in 2026 $1,180 an ounce. Down here, we also have the scripture verse of Haggai. I think that's how you pronounce it. Chapter 2, verse 8, which states the silver is mine and the gold is mine, saith the Lord of hosts. Now, this verse isn't about speculation. It's about ownership and order. When systems distort value, God's declaration reminds us that silver's worth is not defined by markets or manipulation. It is inherent, finite, and appointed. As trust in fiat weakens and supply constraints tighten, silver isn't just breaking out on charts, it's being recalled to its rightful role. The 2026 price that it was showing of $1,180 an ounce shows how explosive silver becomes when measured against currency expansion, not paper price suppression. Now let's talk about the dress that Melania was wearing last night at their New Year celebration. She came out wearing a silver dress, and the theme song to the Lone Ranger. Now, the name of the Lone Ranger's horse is Silver, but the horse is white. How does that apply biblically, you guys? The Messiah comes riding a white horse, right? I'm going to explain more about that in a second. I want to talk more about the horse because 2026 is the Chinese year of the horse. Now we have this comm of the Wonder Horse, which his name is Silver. And Hi-Ho Silver is another song that aligns with the Lone Ranger theme song. Hi-Ho Silver tells a story of someone who has been pushed down, overlooked, and delayed, yet refuses to quit. This is exactly what has happened to Silver, okay? The lyrics center on keeping faith and momentum. Even when success feels just out of reach, there is an acknowledgement of struggle and frustration, but it's paired with a strong belief that perseverance will pay off. Hi-Ho Silver functions as a rallying cry, a signal to keep moving forward, to rise again, and to trust that effort and patience will eventually lead to reward. The tone is hopeful but grounded, emphasizing that breakthrough doesn't come instantly, but when it does, it's powerful. In essence, the lyrics are about endurance, optimism, and the moment when persistence finally turns into progress. A reminder that even after long hardships, something valuable is still coming. Now let's go back to the Lone Ranger's horse being white and named Silver. And the horse is referenced the Wonder Horse. 2026 is the year of the horse, or the fire horse to be more specific. And the year of the horse arrives in 47 days.
Yes,
Every
a new
60
one.
years, a fire horse arrives. 2026, the year of the fire horse, and violent change and destroy establishments that rose against the trine. A year of revenge is upon us, you guys. The Wonder Horse, the Fire Horse, the White Horse, the Messiah comes with great power and glory riding a white horse. And there's something about the Lone Ranger because the US deck clock has been showing us kind of a country theme with a lone star coming from Texas. I'm still trying to piece that together, but it is very interesting because the horse's name is Silver, but the horse is white. This post says that from today, January 1st, in 47 days is when the year of the horse or the fire horse begins. Now it's funny because Trump is the 47th president and Silver's atomic number on the periodic table is 47. There's another really important thing that happened last night during their New Year celebration. We had an artist paint a portrait of Jesus. Now, Trump auctioned this painting of Christ at the New Year celebration, which is odd. Like, why would you have that painting of Christ on a 2026 New Year's celebration? You see all of these Christians trying to paint Trump out to be the AC, you guys, which is ridiculous because, first of all, the great deception happens after the rapture, not before the rapture. I find it just really odd how these Christians just cannot comprehend how Trump can actually be a very spiritual person. Anyway, moving forward, he auctioned this painting of Jesus for charity. He started the bidding at $100,000, but the winning bid was $2.75 million.
This is an important one.
50% went to
This is
St.
good.
Jude's Hospital and 50% to the Palm Beach Sheriff's Department. Now, I know a lot of you are going to come at me saying that Trump converted to Judaism, which I believe he did on his first term, but you see things that Trump does, especially when it has to do with Christ. He pays tribute to Christ in many events that he does. He doesn't have to. I don't even think I've ever seen a president that has brought Christ in to his events as much as Trump does. What makes me believe that Trump decided not to convert to Judaism is the way that he talked when he was in Israel to sign the peace treaty or whatever.
And let me also give a very special thanks to someone who truly loves Israel. In fact, loves it so much that my daughter converted. My daughter converted. I didn't know this was going to happen. And Ivanka's here.
Listen.
Thanks for sharing that, Papa Deal.
And Bibi, you do know this was not in the cards for me. You understand that.
He said specifically, and Bibi, referencing to Netanyahu, that converting to Judaism was not in the cards for him.
15 years ago, I'm not Jewish, but my father was very friendly with many, many Jewish people, was honored by.
Trump said that he was not Jewish, but his father was friends with many Jewish people. He said that during his speech for the Hanukkah celebration. Trump is telling you guys he is Christian. He's fighting for Christians all over the world, and you still refuse, you guys, to see what he's doing. Of course, I'm referencing like the Trump hating Christians out there who refuse to believe that there's an ounce of goodness in Trump. He has actually done so much to prove that he is a follower of Christ. Maybe, just maybe he did. Maybe he did some really horrible things in his past, but isn't everyone able to be forgiven for their sins if they repent. He doesn't have to prove himself that he repent to you. The only person he needs to prove himself is to God and to Christ. Anyway, moving forward real quick, I wanted to bring up this debt clock message, which is on the US Debt Clock website today, and it's showing the gold coins. Some of these appear to be like gold plated quarters, which we have been seeing posts like this lately. For gold coins, gold quarters are being given as change. One was at a gas station. This post is at a laundromat. It was very interesting. It makes me think that maybe some of these new coins or this new currency is in circulation. We're just not seeing it yet. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your new year. It will be exciting to see what happens tomorrow. The banks open, everything going on with China and putting the licensing requirements on silver purchases. That goes in effect today. The banks open tomorrow. So that's going to be interesting. I'm going to keep you guys updated on kind of what happens with silver. And if we get any more debt clock messages, I will let you know.
That was good. I think I got that video. Hang on a second. Yep. I'm going to see if I can play it. Yep, found it, Papa Joe.
Why did they really ban the most effective fat burner in history? It wasn't about safety.
If you've got stubborn back pain, you need to see this. Researchers down in Dallas just received major funding for a breakthrough.
Hey guys, it's Nick Shirley. Well, I'm at the Capitol building to undercover feds with MAGA hats telling everyone to storm the Capitol. Just kidding.
The real reason you're stiff after sitting.
You can live a very long time without getting old.
Have you heard about the eggshell trick for dogs? I've seen more and more people doing it lately. And honestly, I wish
All right, glad I found that. Two minutes.
Rights. Those of the Constitution, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the Oviedo Convention. We speak of these principles because they are being taken away from us. We are anonymous, not for protection, but out of respect for the ideas we disseminate, because they are absolute ideas that must not be contaminated by those who express them. The individual speaker is never perfect, whereas these principles are, and live a life of their own. They do not need a face or identity to present them. We are anonymous, because behind our words and actions, there are no ulterior motives of fame, glory, power, or other bullshit. Our message is purely freedom focused, and it is exactly anonymity that guarantees this message is unadulterated. We fight, not for political, economic, or religious interests, but exclusively for the defense of the inalienable human rights, rights which are of all and for all. We are only a guiding voice to bring these fundamental and universal principles back to the center of our lives and to prevent the ultimate establishment of a Nazi medical dictatorship. And in an age where truth is rare, those who speak it are hated, and selfish individualism prevails, we put principles before everything, because they are the only thing that matters. Our faces are your faces. Our who we are becomes your who you want to be. Just a voice and a symbol. The voice of your will to claim your rights. The symbol of the fight to reassert them as the foundation of our society.
Okay, our mask guy. Papa Till, you said Dick Shirley. Well, I got a 3-minute clip. Did we play this one yet?
Like, are they messaging you saying we're going to get you? What are they saying to you?
Yeah, like they're saying,
Oh,
like,
satisfaction.
Kirk, you're going to be
Okay.
Kirked.
A lot of people are at work.
That's
what they're saying.
Yeah, like you're the next. You'll be the next Kirk. And it's just like, are you kidding me? 'Cause it's not even like I hate what's happening right now. Like, I feel bad for my family, honestly, because it's like, yeah, like we didn't do anything wrong, and yet you guys are coming after me like I'm some sort of villain, right? So I'm like, my little sister's getting phone calls. I'm like, why are you guys doing this?
Your little sister's getting phone calls.
Yeah, from like the news. I'm like, geez, don't talk to my family. I mean, some news in India, they doxed my home, they doxed my dad, it was really weird. I haven't even told my dad about that because I just don't want to even bother him about it.
Well, Dad, you know now.
But like they put it, like it's just like, are you guys kidding me? Like, why are you guys coming after somebody for going against fraud? Like, I didn't make this a right or left issue. I just showed you guys that fraud was happening, and now you guys are coming after me. You're saying, "Yo, I'll be the next Kirk." You're literally stopping at intersections and coming after me and trying to attack me. Like, what? Why are you so evil? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what? Why are you defending fraud? Do you like money being stolen? No. And what are you doing? You're a racist. No, I'm not a racist. I'm just telling you what the facts are. You guys are stealing money from the people that are working hard here inside the United States. I was literally talking to a black man, and then the Somali man comes out, and he's also black. So I can't understand what they're thinking, calling me a racist. I'm having a great conversation with a black man, and then another black man comes up, and he's Somali descent, and he comes and attacks me for being a racist. I'm like, no, I'm not a racist. It's so stupid. And that's why the fraud has been able to happen for so long, because people like Tim Walter are afraid to be called racist. Afraid to be called racist. And me and my generation, we're over it. Like, we don't care.
Oh, I love that, buddy.
Like, we do not care. Call us a racist. I do not care, because I am not a racist. We're just seeing that prices of homes are so expensive. I don't even have a friend that can afford a home. People aren't getting married because of how expensive things are. And we're paying so much money in taxes. Most kids are, I'm lucky because I didn't go to college, but most kids are starting their life off behind the starting line. They're thousands of dollars in the debt. And so, yes, we're upset because you guys are stealing millions of dollars and getting rich. And then you're bragging about the white man working on TikTok. Who's actually the racist? You're the racist. You're the one saying the white man, you work, white woman, you work, white man. We're sick of it. Nobody cares. Like, stop committing fraud. If you're going to be here, be happy to be here and work hard like we're working hard. Whether you're black, Mexican, Asian, white, just go and work. And don't start playing this victim card and start trying to make things political about money, for instance, or don't get mad at people for making money. Like, that's why America is the greatest country in the world, is because of capitalism. And we had 250 years to do it. All these other countries had thousands of years to do it, but they didn't do it. That's why we have to protect what's ours.
Okay. I got another one. I'm going to do one short 20-minute one. I don't think I played this one. Let me know if I did.
For Operation Twin Shield. I'll turn it over to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Director Joseph Etlow.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so
Remember
much
this
for
one,
being
Kay?
here. My name is Joseph Edlow. I'm the Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. I'm incredibly pleased to be here today to announce the successful conclusion to Operation Twin Shield, an enforcement effort of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services with absolutely invaluable support from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the FBI, and DEA. I especially want to thank St. Paul Field Office Director Samuel Olson from ICE for being here, as well as Abel Vecino from the FBI for joining us up here today. I also want to thank Jeff Brecht and Mike Kennard from FDNS, as well as Michael Borgen from USCIS. And also want to thank Bill McInn, our FDNS chief in Kansas City, who was on the ground during the entirety of the operation. Since September 19th, officers from our Fraud Detection and National Security Directorate, working in teams, have conducted over 1,000 site visits across the Minneapolis-St. Paul area as part of this operation. What they found should shock all of America. Focusing on a list of over 1,000 target cases involving more than 900 individuals, our officers encountered blatant marriage fraud, visa overstays, people claiming to work at businesses that can't be found, forged documents, abuse of the H-1B visa system, abuse of the F-1 visas, and many other discrepancies. Over the course of the operation, our officers found indication of fraud, non-compliance, or public safety and national security concerns in nearly a little less than 50% of the cases interviewed. We found troubling patterns with the Uniting for Ukraine program that should have raised serious concerns under other administrations, such as an individual filing to sponsor more than 100 aliens, an organization sponsoring hundreds.
Very
We are
important
continuing
video,
to
I
investigate
say.
these cases. Some of the other troubling cases that our officers found. In one case, officers identified an alien who had overstayed his visa waiver, who was the son of a known or suspected terrorist on the no-fly list. He had previously been found to have engaged in marriage fraud, which resulted in the denial of several immigration benefit requests. He was arrested and is now presently being returned to his country of origin. In another, an individual admitted to obtaining a fake death certificate in Kenya for just $100 to prove he was no longer married. In reality, his wife is alive, living here in Minneapolis, and is the mother of 5 of his children. And incidentally, he has another wife living in Sweden with whom he has an additional 3 children. In another case, an alien entered the United States without inspection in 2023, was released by Border Patrol. The alien married a U.S. citizen while in removal proceedings and was interviewed at the Minneapolis-St. Paul USCIS field office just last week, where both he and his American spouse, stated under oath that their marriage was legitimate. The USCIS officers conducting the interview were suspicious. The site visits were authorized the same day. The American spouse ultimately that afternoon admitted the marriage was fraudulent and entered into solely for immigration purposes and withdrew her petition for that alien. This type of same-day action for interview, from interview to site visit, has really never happened before. And I am incredibly impressed and thankful to the diligent work of the agents who made that happen for the first time, but not for the last time. And finally, I wanted to note, in one case, an alien engaged in marriage fraud by taking advantage of an elderly U.S. citizen spouse, including threats and severe neglect. The American spouse was able to divorce the alien with the help of her family and caregivers, but the family still lives in fear of retaliation from the alien over the failed marriage fraud scam.
Wow.
These are not victimless crimes. Every case of fraud we uncover damages our national security, undermines the integrity of our immigration system, and as I just gave you an example, has real consequences. I want the American people to know that we are declaring war on immigration fraud. We will continue to pursue those who seek to abuse our immigration system using every tool at our disposal. This operation, Twin Shield, is just the first phase of what we are looking at. The critical information gathered, the fraud patterns uncovered will help us to combat fraud at the next level. We now begin the process of analyzing, cross-checking, reviewing cases using these results. These investigations will help us determine the next steps in many cases. We will be looking at grants of immigration benefits already given. We will be looking at other patterns, and we will be re-examining benefits to determine whether rescission, revocation is appropriate in any of these cases. Additionally, I would say right now that if you seek to commit immigration fraud in this country, you will find yourself meeting with our officers at USCIS. You will meet officers within our federal partners at ICE, CBP, FBI, DEA, whoever is working with us. And you will find yourself not only without benefits, but you will find yourself prosecuted. We will continue to tirelessly work with the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Minnesota, as well as in every other jurisdiction, to make sure that these cases are treated as they should be, and that aliens, attorneys, preparers, others who engage in immigration fraud are properly punished. I also want to touch briefly on the reception our officers received in the field. They were harassed, threatened, accused of being scammers, and even had the police called on them. At least one residence was so unsafe that they had to call off the site visit altogether. This is simply unacceptable. And I want to remind the public that our officers are doing a job to protect all Americans. They deserve the respect and cooperation as they go along with those duties. Under President Trump's leadership, we have empowered our immigration officers to thoroughly vet aliens as required by law, and to pursue immigration fraud wherever and whenever we encounter it. Secretary Noem has also recently delegated certain law enforcement authorities to me at USCIS that will allow this agency to establish a cadre of criminal investigators to increase the department's ability to fully investigate and ensure prosecutions of the very types of immigration fraud that this operation uncovered. As we work to undo the neglect of the Biden administration, we will continue to launch operations like this across the country. Operation Twin Shield was a major enforcement operation, and we will be bringing many more efforts like this to cities across the country. The results you see today speak for themselves, and they will serve to deter those who would attempt to undermine our country and its laws, whether for money, to gain legal status, or to harm the American people. At the end of the day, immigration fraud will not and will no longer be tolerated in this country. And now I'll turn the mic over to Sam Olson of ICE. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Good afternoon. My name is Sam Olson. I'm the Field Office Director for Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Removal Operations here in St. Paul and Minneapolis. I'm honored to be here today to highlight the critical and collaborative work that our agencies are undertaking to safeguard the integrity of our nation's immigration system. At ICE, our mission is clear: to identify, apprehend, and remove illegal aliens who pose a threat to public safety and the rule of law. And our officers are out there every day working tirelessly to ensure that we achieve this. Through our ongoing collaboration with USCIS, HSI, the FBI, and other federal partners, we have made multiple arrests of individuals who have submitted fraudulent claims on their USCIS applications. These arrests demonstrate the importance of interagency cooperation in preventing the manipulation and misuse of our immigration system. Fraud undermines the integrity of the system and erodes public trust, and we are committed to addressing it head on. As we continue this operation on our end, some of the referrals that we got from CIS, we'll continue to pursue additional violators and ensure that those who break our immigration laws are held accountable. Our work is vital to protecting public safety, upholding the rule of law, and maintaining the integrity of the immigration process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. At this time, we'll take your questions.
Lou Bergoose from Care 11 News. Did the so-called
sanctuary policies that are now subject of a DOJ lawsuit play a role, in your opinion, in the fraud that you encountered during this operation?
I can just say, speaking with our officers out here, we had great cooperation among our federal partners, and that's where the cooperation ended. Clearly, the sanctuary policies did lead to officers having to rely on their fellow federal colleagues in order to maintain officer safety, which is obviously our main, ultimately our main objective, to keep officers safe during these operations.
And then just as a follow-up, then you mentioned multiple arrests. Can you tell us how many arrests were made and how many might be expected later?
At this point, I would defer to ICE on specific numbers, but from USCIS, we're still looking. As I said, we're gathering information based on the site visits that we conducted, and we will take additional action as required.
Mr. Edlow, Matt Sepik with Minnesota Public Radio News. Has anyone been charged yet? Have any of these cases gone to the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Minnesota or grand jury for that matter?
Again, this is a new operation that's just ending now. We're still in the phase of gathering everything, working along with our federal partners at ICE, especially HSI, as we make the arrangements to determine who is going to be charged and for what.
Joey Ayers with the Sahan Journal. Just a question. You said 900 individuals implicated in this. Does that mean 900 people are detained as a result of this? Or elaborate on?
No, 900 people were not detained. As I said, there were over 1,000 target cases that USCIS was looking at based on the data, and those individuals were interviewed, were contacted. In terms of what happened with an individual case, that's done on a case-by-case basis.
Mike, there's a different case indeed. Could you explain to folks, because you talk about this is going nationwide, why was Minneapolis selected to begin this operation?
The data, clear, just the data. When you look at what we're seeing as concerning patterns of fraud, we're seeing good cooperation here, especially among our field office, working with our federal agents. It just makes sense to start in a city where we have a sense of what's going on and where we can try to make an impact on certain things like the immigration fraud from marriages and things of that nature. So it really was based on reviewing data. But this is, as I said, this is not the only city where this is going to be. This is the first of many.
Mike Manzoni, Fox 9, you mentioned that some of this should have been caught earlier in previous administrations. What wasn't being done, in your view, that should have been done in previous years?
Well, you're aware of the CHNV, the parole programs that the previous administration was involved in, bringing people in. People here were allowed to sponsor individuals to come in from certain countries. As I said, we found organizations here that were involved in sponsoring many individuals. They did not know necessarily the individuals they were sponsoring. They were doing almost a blanket sponsorship. That is fraud. That's something that should have been caught. It's something that I know the previous administration was aware of how the sponsorships were happening, and no action was taken. I'm glad to see that we're taking action.
And when a couple of these raises, just to kind of spell out what you're seeing. So when you say marriage fraud, what does that mean? Does that mean like a U.S. citizen is getting married to somebody for the purposes of?
I'm going to turn that over to our FDNS experts who can explain it probably in better terms.
Yeah, so the INA, the Immigration Nationality Act, allows people to petition for family members. What it doesn't allow is for you to petition for someone where you don't have a bona fide marriage, right? So you've entered into a marriage solely for the purpose of circumventing the immigration law. That would be the marriage fraud.
And then
Jeff Brecht.
The phrase site visit, does that just mean like almost like doing a search warrant or like?
No, I mean, they're administrative, right? They submit information and we go out and we verify the information.
And so that's something that they expected to happen? Or?
Yeah, when they petition, they sign the back of the form that says they consent to that.
How far back did these marriages go? And the examples of marriage fraud that you found, can you say like, it was a marriage several years ago, or Well,
in many regards, a lengthy process, right? I don't have the data on how old these were. I mean, some of them may have been within the past half year. Some of them may have been a year and a half old. I don't have the data for you on that one.
Can someone comment on, you said this just wrapped up, this operation. When did it start and how long was it?
Yeah, the operation started on September 19th.
Can you speak at all about the country of origin of the folks that you've been investigating? You mentioned Ukraine.
I mentioned United for Ukraine, but it runs the gamut. This was not targeted at any individual country or person. This was done looking only at the data of what we saw as concerning cases involving fraud. Listen, at the end of the day, this is what the government should be doing. We have a responsibility to keep this system legitimate. And when you see what has been uncovered by these diligent officers over the past 2 weeks, less than 2 week period, that's only the tip of the iceberg to what we're actually dealing with when it comes to immigration fraud. That ultimately is, in my opinion, the same thing as a threat to our national security, a threat to public safety, and something that we've got to take seriously. I don't think this would be as newsworthy if this was, the IRS going after tax fraud. No, you all would expect the government to go after tax fraud. Well, you should be expecting the government to go after immigration fraud and benefits fraud the same way that any other fraud is perpetrated against the government.
Christy Belpino, Pioneer Press. I'm just circling back. You said that you would have to ask somebody else about the number of arrests. Could you possibly do that? You said somebody behind you for the total number of arrests.
For the number of apprehensions? Did you have the numbers on that?
Right. Numbers, we don't get into specific numbers. Right now, there's been multiple arrests and they're ongoing. There could have been more arrests happening today that I'm not aware of, so I don't want to give you a number. That right now, it's been multiple arrests.
Okay.
Thank you. Really quickly, just one more. You said that this has lasted, it was September 19th, more cities are coming. Can you share what other cities there are? And you talked about data. Can you talk about what data drew you to Minneapolis?
Again, looking at the petitions that we have available to us, the way that our officers that have been working in this arena for many, many years look at the various petitions, applications that have been filed, we look for patterns. We look for fraudulent patterns that we then want to target for the site visits as our fraud detection national security individuals
That's
just
good,
explained.
Carol. Yeah, I know a lot of
Ultimately,
people
I'm not going to speak as to what cities may be next for operations of this side, but I would say any city should be prepared to be the next site for an operation of this magnitude.
So there's
Thank you.
red flags in Minnesota. Is that kind of what you're saying by that?
There's red flags everywhere, but based on the work, the cooperation, the work that we knew we could count on with our field office that has acted so incredibly here, not to mention the collaboration with our FBI partners, with ICE, we knew Minneapolis and St. Paul were a good place to start to get that coordination and to start addressing the red flags that we found. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, wow. I didn't know it was going to be that big of a video. Glad I found that one. So I got one more 15, and the rest will be short clips. The 2-hour mark. And scheduled for 1 o'clock, but 2 hours be about 2:45. Let me know if I should play this one.
To the most trusted person in the military to take apart everything on it and then start using it. There's a lot that can be prosecuted. In fact, I heard that the New York police officers who saw some of it, even though they're hardened investigators, literally had to go throw up. It's bad.
I'm fully aware this topic has been covered ad nauseum, but parts of it have been covered terribly, and the aspects covered well have been deleted. But more importantly, while researching, I discovered something new that's never been reported by anyone.
Dinner with American celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain. ABC's Bob Woodruff tonight with how that meal came together.
Initially, this video was structured in a way that debunked the more exaggerated claims from Pizzagators and QAnon obsessives, while also shining a light on the facts of aristocratic pedophilia rings. If you think this has only occurred in the Catholic Church, I encourage you to read the True dossiers and the recent findings from an inquiry into former British MPs who were freely able to sexually abuse children for decades. But I trashed all that as soon as I found what I found. So instead, I'm just going to show you what I discovered while vetting a now infamous yet indecipherable man who in 2012 was named by GQ magazine as one of the 50 most powerful people in Washington, D.C. James Alefantis is an avid art collector, prolific fundraiser, owner of multiple establishments including Comet Ping Pong, and was personally thanked by Hillary Clinton for what she called his extraordinary talent during her Cooking with Fratelli Podesta fundraiser.
So far.
He is pictured here with Tony Podesta, who celebrates his birthday with Alefantis almost every year. His previous boyfriend was founder of Media Matters, David Brock. And with the Federal Election Commission showing his multiple donations for Pete Buttigieg, it's apparent that Alefantis' influence among the DC establishment remains strong. But why was anyone suspicious of him in the first place? More specifically, why did anyone equate him with something as monstrous as pedophilia?
Okay, guys. Yeah. Okay, guys, it's December 17th. It's 1-something in the afternoon here. And I'm with JB. And JB's talking to us about who?
James Alefantis.
James Alefantis. Now JB went to St. Albans.
Went to St. Albans.
From DC, and he's got a story to tell us. So let's hear it.
Restaurant for Carol Greenwood.
Yep.
Remember the day James Alefantis walked in the door and asked for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Carol's son, 11 years old at the time, a friend of mine caught James butt fucking this boy in the kitchen. And that person, his name is Dylan Greenwood, has since committed suicide. I think it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
James is one of the dastardly worst person in the world. And yeah, they do bad things at Comet. There are underground rooms, all that stuff.
And you've seen that with your own eyes.
I've seen that with my own eyes.
So you've been below the floor of Comet.
It used to be the tie room.
The tie room before it was Comet.
Yes.
Yeah. Right by the zoo.
It's a little farther down from the zoo. It's more in
not that far. I mean,
it's Nebraska.
It's on Connecticut Avenue.
Nebraska and Connecticut.
Right.
Yep. But yeah, that's a fact. James Alefantis is a bad person to this day.
And you met him when he was applying for a job or something?
He was trying to get the manager job.
Okay, I stopped it. Did I stop it on time, Jay?
Instead of stopping Antifa thugs in the streets.
Hey.
Just like Barack Obama used the IRS to crush the Tea Party, Democrats have been turning government into a political weapon for years now. But those days are coming to an end because now the spotlight is on them.
I want to more broadly encourage you, follow the money. The violence we are seeing is not purely organic. Do you believe Antifa is a terrorist organization?
I believe Antifa is associated with a lot of violence in this country. As to its designation, I'll leave that to the appropriate authorities.
And President Trump, he made it clear he has no problem designating Antifa as a terrorist organization.
Do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam.
Not sure if I played this
if you
one, but
give
it's
me,
8 minutes.
I would do that 100%, and others also, by the way, but Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can think of?
There are other groups, yeah, there are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder.
And got away with murder is exactly what it looks like in Charlie Kirk's assassination. I mean, what's shocking isn't just the crime, it's how the media is covering it. An ABC reporter actually described the alleged assassin as, quote, touching. Listen to this.
It was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate who was transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference, David.
Riveting? This was a press briefing about an alleged murder, not a romance novel. It is utterly disgusting and deeply disrespectful to the grieving widow and family of Charlie Kirk. By calling the suspect's messages sent moments after murdering Kirk touching or even heartwarming, the reporter normalizes dangerous behavior and glamorizes a horrific crime. Journalism should inform the public, not sentimentalize killers. ABC should know better, and every reporter covering cases like this must be held accountable. Montel Williams, he was not any better over at CNN. Watch this.
We're talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it?
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally.
Guys, the evidence here is overwhelming. He said, Charlie Kirk, I can't stand this hate anymore. I'm going to take him out. The testimony from him and the statements of his family, he had become more left wing. He etched the statements that are made by the left about Republicans and conservatives and Charlie Kirk fascist on the bullet casings.
He made a joke about it in his last text.
Well, it doesn't sound like a joke to me because someone's dead and about to be buried.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like a joke to me. So I'm just telling you, there is an effort. There was an effort all weekend long on the left to try to make this guy sound like he was a conservative. That failed. That was passed around all over the weekend. That has now failed. The evidence has now come out. He was motivated by hate. He was motivated by left-wing radicalism. He got mixed up with some trans ideology in his life. We'll learn more about that, I'm sure, when more evidence and testimony comes out. We are looking around the edges of this for something other than what's staring us in the face. Left-wing radicalism got this kid. He went up to a roof and he murdered our friend, and that's what happened.
So now the assassin is a love-torn child who engraved jokes on his bullets? Spare me. While a man is dead, we're told to see the murder as some tragic romantic. That's not empathy. That is moral bankruptcy. The media, they're just bending over backwards to humanize a killer while ignoring the family left behind. Now, that reporter over at ABC that I showed you a moment ago, they took to X today after receiving major backlash and wrote this, quote, "Yesterday, I tried to underscore the jarring contrast between this cold-blooded assassination of Charlie Kirk, a man who dedicated his life to public dialogue, and the personal, disturbing text read aloud by the Utah County attorney at the press conference. I deeply regret that my words did not make that clear, but let there be zero doubt here. I unequivocally condemn this horrific crime and the pain it caused Charlie Kirk's family, those who were forced to witness it at UVU, and the millions of people he inspired." It's not enough for me. He should be fired, because if we don't start holding people accountable, we will never get to a better place, to a place where we tolerate different ideas and respect one another as human beings. JD Vance, he took to the mic, and here's what he had to say today on this.
Well, I think I speak for every person in this room, and I think I speak for a majority of our fellow Americans when I say we do not attack or commit violence against people because we disagree with their ideas. We debate ideas, and we're going to keep on debating them in honor of the great Charlie Kirk for as long as I have a microphone.
Many of us are determined to carry Charlie's torch forward. In fact, a resolution has just been filed to designate October 14th, Charlie's birthday, as the National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. It's been 1 week since we lost him, and that pain is still raw, still very heavy for a lot of us. But Charlie's life was bigger than the loss. His voice, his fight, his passion for truth and for this country must live on. And one of the best ways to honor him is by remembering those moments that defined who he was. So here's today's reminder of what made Charlie Kirk so unforgettable.
I would say that I am with you for the idea of a colorblind society. I think it's a bit of a farce to say that colorblind society is something we should aspire to, but I think it's a farce to think that it doesn't exist, that race doesn't play a factor.
I totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah, you're black, but it doesn't matter. It's not the most important thing. Instead, it's, are you a good person? How do you act? How do you treat other people? Are you a Christian? Like, what is your worldview? I want to get back to that. Of course, we're still going to see differences, but I want to de-emphasize them to a place where we look at each other as fellow human beings and fellow American citizens. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thankfully, I was raised away from all that, 2 loving parents.
And that's the greatest thing that you are, one of the, if not the greatest. And that's my hope for every child, black, white, or Asian, to have 2 parents. That is a ticket to success. Where's my brother up here? Where's my man? Look at him. You got to come up here. Come up here. Come up here. Come up here. Get over the gate. Come over the gate. Look at this guy here. Look at this. Yeah. Right up to the mic.
You stand for me, we good.
Wait, I only stand up for white. Is that a white man? Can you look at him, please? Look at him. Is that a white man? Is that a white man? You said I only stand up for white men. He's got dreads.
That was Charlie. Fearless, unapologetic, and always putting country before comfort. Up next, if you missed the charges that came down for Charlie's alleged assassin, as well as the detailed messages that he exchanged between him and his roommate, I've got all those details in the video from yesterday, as well as some other fireworks between Kash Patel and Cory Booker at yesterday's Biden's.
That was very important one there. I got 2 binnies. It'll be 10 minutes. That should give us to the 2-hour mark. And then I got, a lot more of her videos. Let's see here. Let's play.
At me, he was looking past me right into eternity. He was with Jesus already.
I can't even imagine what that was like for all of them. And I'm sure it just plays over and over in their heads. And while we were all waiting for an update so desperately on Charlie's condition, the AP at one point had reported he was in critical condition. I don't know if you saw that update in real time, but it gave us all who did a glimmer of hope. That update came from what happened when they reached the hospital. Listen to this.
Now, it is true, when we got to the hospital and they started working on him right away, they did get a pulse back. And so Rick and I were everyone's praying. We're just praying for a miracle. We had a small sliver of hope. And the doctor later said that we got a pulse because Charlie was a very healthy man, but the shot was catastrophic. So 20 or 30 minutes later, the surgeon came out and said he was dead.
The surgeon told them the truth nobody wanted to hear. There was nothing anybody could do to save Charlie. The wound was catastrophic and died instantly.
That is the first time I ever heard that. How about you guys? This lady's really good. I didn't know he had a pulse.
Now, Charlie will be remembered on Sunday as tens of thousands of people are expected to fill State Farm Stadium in Arizona. Among the attendees, President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and several other cabinet members, as well as Charlie's wife, Erica. Now, it has been designated as a special event assessment rating level 1, which is reserved for the highest national significance. This means the SWAT team will be mobilized, drones will be in the air, and swarms of officers will be present for the folks that are attending in support, as well as those that we're hearing are planning to protest.
We're aware of all the situations of the climate. We're aware of, feelings and things that are being said online. We just want to make sure that regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, whether you're attending to support, whether you're attending to protest, we want everything to be peaceful. We want everything to be safe, and we just want to take care of everyone.
The fact that people are planning to protest the funeral of somebody brutally murdered after putting George Floyd in a gold casket is beyond comprehension. Let's just hope the focus stays on Charlie and that peace prevails through all of this. Now, in other news, Turning Point USA's board has unanimously elected Erica Kirk as their new CEO. She is a woman of strength, and her battle cry is echoing around the world. We will hear her speak on Sunday. Meanwhile, as we continue to grieve this unbearable loss, Democrats, they're just showing their true priorities. They're outraged that Jimmy Kimmel was briefly suspended for spreading lies about Charlie's alleged assassin, yet show little concern over Charlie being executed in cold blood. When Charlie was killed, his free speech was taken forever, silenced by a bullet. When Kimmel was suspended, he went home to his family, knowing that he would probably be back on television sometime soon. These are not equivalent, yet the left pretends they are. So let's take a quick trip down memory lane. Here's Kimmel reacting to conservatives' response to the attack on Paul Pelosi.
An 82-year-old man has been attacked in his bed in his home by a person who obviously has some problems, and our first reaction isn't, oh my goodness, even if they're lying, even if they're pretending to have concern, how can the reaction possibly be? How can we move so quickly to smearing these people, to trying to create some, and by the way, now that the police report is out, I haven't exactly seen Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Donnie Jr. correcting them and saying, oh my goodness, now that we read the facts of the story, certainly we feel terrible that we spread these vicious lies around, and we retract them and apologize to the Pelosi family. No, you'll never see that.
So he should be the first in line to apologize if he feels that strongly. And to quote him directly, you'll never see that. Now, Kimmel also had no problem gloating when Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox. Watch this.
Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means. Sadly, he's probably not done poisoning old people's brains. The question now is, where will he do it next? Will he go to OAN? Will he go to Newsmax? Will he crawl back up Satan's fiery beehole from whence he came? We don't know. One of the most despicable mother Tuckers ever to appear on American television.
Isn't it funny how some people just love free speech right up until somebody else uses it? Jimmy Kimmel practically skipped with joy when the shoe was on the other foot. I mean, remember, this is the same guy who thought unvaccinated people deserved a death sentence.
If hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
Ah, yes.
Charlie wasn't there.
Hey, Tim. Yeah, I'm going to go 2 hours even. I'm back at 5, 2 hours.
Involved in hitting send on that $59 million payment against the president's executive orders, and his agenda will be terminated.
I've done some serious digging on this bombshell claim Elon Musk dropped about FEMA spending $59 million on illegal immigrants, all while Americans are still homeless after the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. And here's the thing. I've uncovered something much bigger than I initially anticipated. You ready for this? The Biden administration, with a little help from Congress and FEMA, have been funneling nearly $1 billion of your money to house illegal migrants. They were using FEMA like a shell company, that's something the Biden family is familiar with, to redistribute funds to house these migrants. I'm going to break it all down for you and explain it in a way that's easy to understand.
So yes,
but first, let me refresh your memory with what former Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre repeatedly said from the White House podium. Watch this.
This is a falsehood. Disaster relief funds used on immigrants illegally in the U.S. The fact is, No money is being diverted from response needs. That's the fact. It is not true. It is a false statement. And look, the fact of the matter is, I think Washington Post fact checker did a piece, and the headline recently, just moments ago, not too long ago, and the headline was, "No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants, but Trump did." I'll leave it there.
No, KJB, you can't leave it there because you forgot to explain where the money is actually coming from. So allow me to do that for you. Let's look at the official FEMA.gov website. Under the
It is true that FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security have.
That was part one.
In fiscal year 2024, Congress appropriated $650 million for SSP. SSP provides financial support to non-federal entities to provide sheltering and related activities to non-citizen migrants. So picture it this way. Congress is giving FEMA their regular allotted funds in a bucket that's labeled FEMA. But then Biden's Congress created a separate bucket, not labeled FEMA, and put $650 million of your tax dollars last year into that bucket. This bucket, totally unrelated to FEMA's responsibilities, but Congress put them in charge of it and told them to dish it out to illegal migrants. That's how they're getting around the argument that FEMA, according to Biden's administration, isn't funding migrants. And guess what? I dug deeper and found out that Congress also allocated $336.8 million to FEMA back in 2023. So we're talking just under $1 billion of your taxpayer dollars was given to housing migrants during Biden's final 2 years in office. You still with me on this? All right, so now while Congress and Biden were deceiving Americans, let me remind you what former Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told Americans after Hurricane Helene ravaged parts of Florida and North Carolina this past October.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
Disturbing, right? I mean, they created this secret fund. They funneled it through FEMA, all while pretending it wasn't happening. Meanwhile, Shelter and Services Program, also known as SSP, it says, quote, in fiscal year 2024, Congress appropriated $650 million for SSP. SSP provides financial support to non-federal entities.
Okay, last part.
Left high and dry after Hurricane Helene. This all while $650 million was redirected that year to people who broke our law and entered this country illegally. Okay, let's circle back to the $59 million, that FEMA payment that Elon Musk and Doge just unveiled and are now calling out. So the acting FEMA administrator, Cameron Hamilton, he responded to this whole fiasco, writing the following on X. He said, I want to thank Doge team for making me aware of this. Effective yesterday, these payments have all been suspended from FEMA. Personnel will be held accountable. Now, this $59 million payment was initiated less than 2 weeks after Trump signed an executive order calling for a full review of FEMA. The order raises concerns about FEMA's efficiency, their political bias, which we saw in North Carolina when they were instructed not to help the residents who had Trump signs on their lawn, and the misuse of resources. It says there's a concern that the agency has failed to adequately assist disaster victims despite having access to significant funding. I mean, $650 million is not just a drop in the bucket. Here's how Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responded when she was asked about the consequences for the people who hit send on that $59 million payment. Watch this.
Well, I know that Secretary Noem and her team have confirmed that all those who were involved in hitting send on that $59 million payment against the president's executive orders and his agenda will be terminated. We are not going to allow rogue bureaucrats in this city to obstruct the will of the American people.
I mean, the bottom line here
Yeah, I
is your
might have
tax
did
dollars
that
were
one
diverted to
already.
house illegal migrants, while American communities were
Yeah, I
left
did
to
part 3
fend for
already.
themselves after a devastating hurricane. Let that sink in. All right.
Well, that was part 3 parts of the last 2 videos of me, Doug, or Benny.
Sure. I hope it is.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. People have accused the Somali immigrants in America of being many things, but smart is not one of them, probably because they all went to the Quality Leering Center where they learned how to leer. And their leering that they're doing online right now is really taking a toll and pissing off a lot of people. Like, for instance, the Somalis who staged a press conference just to brag about how much fraud they're actually
If
committing.
childcare is cut, I'm unable to work or go to school. I understand fraud is bad.
Oh, they just straight up said it. Wow. You gonna apologize? Oh no, all the liberal white women are just clap for them. By the way,
If
before I get to
childcare
this,
is
just a reminder, like look at this. Look at the size of the ring on her finger. I don't know if that's a real diamond, but if that's a real diamond, then that's like a 5 or 6 carat diamond. So she's sitting there saying that she can't afford food or school for her kids. She has a 6 carat diamond on her hand. And this dude has a $3,000 pair of glasses that he's wearing. I wear a $50 pair of glasses. I wouldn't even know what to do with a $3,000 pair of glasses. And this is exactly how they're rubbing it in our faces. And they're also threatening to kill. Now, I want to make this very clear. We take these threats extremely seriously. We, for instance, were the first site to break this video. We got this video exclusively of an Afghan migrant who was here, Afghan refugee, right? All these Somalis, they're all refugees. At Afghanistan, they're all refugees. Somehow instead of seeking just refuge, there's this expectation that they stay here permanently. That I don't understand. But anyway, here he is straight up saying, I'm going to kill everybody in Dallas. I'm going to kill everyone who gave me a home, who pays my welfare, pays for my family, who accepted me. I'm here to kill and murder in Dallas, Texas. He's since been arrested. And again, we broke this video. So you have to take these things extremely seriously. He was terroristically threatening. And here's a Somali influencer saying she's going to kill Elon Musk.
When people say like this is fake, I'm like, actually, well, let's look at
I wouldn't worry too much about this one. That piece of joy. I wouldn't worry too much about him. He about to die.
He's about to die, she says, while making a, killing or assassination motion with her hand. You come into our country. You get brought here. You couldn't get here yourself. You get brought into our country. Taxpayer dollars paid for you to come here. They pay for you not just to live, but to live like lavishly. There are some Somali fraudsters who have upwards of $50 and $100 million worth of wealth in just a single generation procured through fraud. This is now the reporting on my timeline. Some of these people are not just 10 millionaires, they're 100 millionaires. You are so ungrateful, and then you threaten to murder Americans and kill Americans. They threatened to do this to Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley now has to have 24/7 bodyguards because of what he's exposed with the Somali fraud. There's a bounty out on his head. And now this is, by the way, one of the most popular Somali TikTokers saying Elon Musk is about to die. Elon Musk saying, then this is war. Elon Musk knows how to deal with this ideology because, well, Elon Musk obviously is somebody who's come from a failed society in South Africa, where the ruling class that took over executes with regularity white people in South Africa. White South African farmers takes their land, takes their property, seizes from them everything, takes their lives, does unspeakable evils to them. There's been tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of these cases. Elon Musk and his family fled from that sort of reverse South African collapsed state, sort of a reversed apartheid. Now it's an apartheid and a genocide of white people in South Africa. So he takes this kind of stuff really seriously. The Somali TikToker who mocked Americans has a meltdown over Elon Musk and threatens his life. He's about to die. The FBI needs to look into this. FBI needs to come in and kick in this little witch's door and ask some tough questions. You need denaturalization. You can't have these kind of people in our country. You need denaturalization. You need to just try the case. Just try the case. Start bringing cases to denaturalize these people. You can't share a country.
Is the Somali community under so
This is the same
much heat
TikToker.
right now? Like, did I miss something? Hello? Gaalada oo haadka dhaqi waysa anaga ay manacaynayaan anaga why problem and this is all low-key red Minnesota. Why is that not anyway? Why would you get caught? You scammed the government. Cool. Why? Oh my God, the F that don't get that period. Now the galas are turning on us and they're questioning the legitimacy of all Somali businesses. Now this is a horrible PR for us, but first of all, it's cool when they do it. It's a problem when we do it. Fuck. Red Minnesota, I'm really disappointed and I'm really sad. And I'm really disgusted in what you guys did. Like that durten. I didn't mean eat shaky. I didn't know how to eat jarin. I didn't tell joking high. Spelling mistakes move to the high.
If you're a veteran with a disability rating, or you know and love a veteran with a disability,
I don't know if there's. I didn't think that there was anything more wretched or atrocious to listen to. That makes my ears bleed more than ghetto hood rat, Jasmine Crockett level speech. But mixing that with Star Wars Somali language is really, truly something that I hate deep in my bones, and I don't want it in my country. I'm telling you, like you shouldn't want this in your country. We've already seen an Afghan national kill National Guard members in the street in Washington, D.C. Somali TikToker says Elon Musk is about to die. Deport her immediately. She shouldn't be here, says Mike Lee. That's exactly right. Could you imagine going to somebody else's country, China or some African country, India, going to someone else's country, taking billions of dollars from their people in fraudulent schemes, and then acting so entitled that you threaten to kill the people in charge of their space programs and greatest companies? You do need criminal deportations and prosecutions for all of this. It needs to happen now. People need to be made examples of, like by our DOJ and HHS, by DHS, by ICE. Like you need to show people you can't come as a guest in this country and act like this. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country. This is what's happening right now. People are losing faith in the country. It's not a joke. They actually want to kill me. In all seriousness, please include me in your prayers. They're saying this to Nick Shirley. This is just a DM from Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley saying he's facing serious threats after exposing billions in fraud. I mean, when there's billions on the line, obviously this is what's going to happen. They'll kill to keep the billions because fraudsters want to kill him for telling the truth. That's right. Honestly, you can't continue like this. Third world Somali woman threatens Elon Musk's life. He's about to die. This is exactly how third worlders think. Loot and steal and kill people who expose you. I wouldn't worry too much about him. He's about to die. Somali pirate threatens Elon's life. Somali threatens life of Elon. Arrest her. That's right. Elon says this is war. Okay, fine. I get it now. Denaturalize and deport every last one of them. What an awful language. Somali threatens Elon Musk's life. We've got your back, Elon Musk.
Welcome.
This means war.
Thanks for coming in. And
let's go. You know, the American public. This is the moment. The American public have had enough.
Be respectful.
The whole like toxic empathy. You know, the parents of the boomers, right, who passed the Hart-Celler Act. They're actually like sometimes called the greatest generation. Like this is toxic empathy in action. This is Hart-Celler in action. This is let's flood our country. We're so good. We're so Christian. We're such a moral nation. Let's just flood our country with third worlders. We're going to come here and do what? Kill us? Rob us blind? Steal the future of my children? No. This is the time that we all say no. If you say no, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by the language. Can I ask where you're from? This will be the last one for today, till 5 o'clock.
See some corporate covering this major story, the biggest in America right now, the fraud that is going on.
11 minutes, 12 minutes.
Minnesota News Nation, to their great credit, sent a reporter on the ground in Minneapolis to go knock on doors and show up to various fraudulent Somali businesses, and you'll be shocked to find out what they learn. Now, this is, of course, on the heels of CNN going there to attack Nick Shirley, but CNN had that backfire on them. I'll play you that clip in just a moment. But the News Nation reporter, Rick Mayhew, he showed up to an assisted living facility in Minneapolis that receives tons of taxpayer money, only to find that it is a normal-looking single-family home. There's nobody there. The facility is one of a few facilities owned by Gandhi Mohammed. Mohammed was indicted in 2024 for laundering $1 million in the Feeding Our Futures case. So this is a massive federal case that involved 90 different Somalis defrauding the federal government, saying they were feeding children. It wasn't true. So he's already a fraudster, and now he's allowed, he continues to get payments from the federal government. Shouldn't that ban you from ever doing business with the federal government ever again? These are assisted living facilities received over $2.3 million in state money last year alone, says Mayhew. Minnesota Reformer article says Mohammed has been paid a whopping $49 million since 2016. How is it possible that a person who's been indicted for fraud is still collecting nearly $50 million worth of checks running an assisted living center with his wife? Is it even real? The answer to that, of course, is no. You're never going to guess what happened when Rick Mayhew from News Nation went knocking on the door of several assisted living facilities in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Turns out that despite being currently under indictment for defrauding state millions of dollars, they're paying the owner millions of dollars per year. $50 million. There's a lot of NFL contracts that aren't $50 million. Like very few NFL contracts actually are $50 million. That's an obscene amount of money. This person needs to be locked up for life. You need to seize all of his assets immediately. It's been revealed Somali indicted for the Feeding Our Futures scam is still receiving federal tax dollars through a loophole where the wife operates assisted living homes in properties that they own. They all need to go home. People are enraged at this. This has done insane numbers of views, millions of views. Imagine if the corporate media just decided to report like at all on this stuff. Like imagine if they just lifted a finger. You know, there's 3,000 employees at CNN, 3,000 employees at CBS News, 3,000 employees at ABC News. We looked up these numbers. There's like 5,000 employees at NBC News and NBC News and their affiliates. Where are those reporters? This is the biggest story in America. Imagine if those reporters were dispatched to just go check on these things. It shows your hand, by the way, in what you choose not to cover. More than what you choose to cover, and what you choose not to cover. This shows your hand. Here we go. Here's the News Nation report, and good on News Nation for this.
Hi, Hannah. Well, prosecutors here have found billions in fraud, $9 billion in fraud, and they focused on 14 different programs that fraudsters used to defraud Medicaid of those billions. We got a tip last time we were reporting here to look into another area, and thanks to our reporting, we did, and we believe we have found the 15th area, and it is assisted living. Take a look. This may look like your typical single-family home, but it bills itself as an assisted living facility, and it receives a lot of taxpayer money. Here in Minnesota, the number of people getting help in assisted living facilities is up, double the growth of other programs. But here's the kicker. The rate of payment in this assisted living space is 10 to 15 times the growth in other programs. Hi. So we pulled the data on assisted living facilities in the Minneapolis area. Minneapolis, as you might expect, has a lot, 169. St. Paul, with a population of 307,000, has 83. But Brooklyn Center, 30,000 population, has 106. And Brooklyn Park, population of 84,000, has 181, more than Minneapolis, a city 5 times its size. But this assisted living facility puts this all in perspective. It's owned by a man indicted for laundering $1 million in the Feeding Our Future scam. He's Gandhi Mohammed, now Gandhi Abdi Kadai, and his LLC owns the homes. His wife runs the assisted living facilities, and the state is continuing to pay as he awaits his trial. Okay. We went to each of them.
We're curious because the man who owns this building was indicted in the Feeding Our Future scandal. Did you know that?
No.
Don't know that?
No. You think what?
Do you know the Feeding Our Future scandal? The scam that was, there's all these indictments related to false, billing on feeding children.
No, that's not true.
Taxes was feeling unwell. Now Taxes is an open door to new TurboTax stores. Meet our experts. They do your taxes, so you can walk out with confidence. Now this is Taxes.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people? Now, more than ever, Israel needs committed friends.
That it's not true?
It's not true. The way I know that, no.
These assisted living facilities received over $2.3 million in state money last year alone. A Minnesota Reformer article says he has been paid a whopping $49 million since 2016. How is it possible that this person who's been indicted in Feeding Our Future also is still collecting checks from the state, running these assisted living centers with his wife?
I honestly have no idea. It seems like the most basic due diligence would have been to run a check of all the people indicted in Feeding Our Future and then make sure they're not getting paid from other state programs. And at least in this case, and I've heard perhaps in others, they didn't do that.
State Representative Kristen Robbins is the chair of the House Fraud and Oversight Committee here.
So this person owns assisted living facilities and his wife runs the service provider part of it. So he owns the property. One of the properties was purchased with the same shell company he used to money launder in Feeding Our Future. And now that same shell company has been used to buy a new assisted living facility property. It's unconscionable that they haven't done the most basic due diligence to cross-check that Feeding Our Future defendants aren't getting additional state money.
Now, we reached out to this man and his wife and yet to hear back. We also reached out to the Department of Human Services here, and they gave us a statement. In part, it basically says, ultimately, they can't cut funding from this guy because he is simply a landlord, essentially because his wife runs the services for these assisted living facilities, essentially Hannah passing the buck.
The responses have been, I'm sure your blood is boiling after watching that. Mine was as well. The rage I feel as a law-abiding taxpayer is indescribable. I know I'm not the only one. Prosecute, denaturalize, seize, deport, repeat. Minnesota Reformer article says Muhammad has been paid a whopping $49 million. This makes me sick. 49 million billed since 2016. It's been going on for decades. People are calling this the Nick Shirley effect. Now independent journalists are out checking these things and Again, doing a better job than the corporate journalists, but once again, hat tip to News Nation. CNN went on the ground to Minneapolis, and instead of fact checking or doing any reporting on the fraud, they went and attacked Nick Shirley and then had it backfire on them in this clip. This is how hard it was for CNN to try and find something in Minneapolis that wasn't fraud. And then when they tried to prove that Nick Shirley was wrong, they proved the exact opposite. Hysterical. Journalists need to do their job, or better yet, just keep letting YouTubers do it for you. We'll be happy to keep going. All right, here's the CNN report. It's so humiliating.
We're from CNN. Can we talk to you? This is MAGA YouTuber Nick Shirley. Back at a daycare in Minnesota, he alleged was a fraudulent facility in a now viral video.
People are going to say it's a left or right issue, but no, fraud is fraud. And so I'm not out here trying to put a twist on things.
Shirley's viral video, released over the weekend, in which he says he's uncovering tens of millions of dollars in fraud at Minneapolis daycares run by the Somali community, was retweeted by Elon Musk and Vice President J.D. Vance. In the video, Shirley tries to open locked doors and talk to people at various daycares he claims are frauds.
Did you come during their normal operating hours when you came to visit?
I came at 11 a.m., I believe, and I also came the following day later in the day. The point of it is not whether or not I came at the right time of their operation hours. The point is that blacked out doors, they can't give you any information. You call that number, no one answers. I wasn't trying to go inside, and there should be a way for somebody to actually be able to call that number and somebody be able to answer. These aren't real businesses.
But surely you don't think a daycare should just be unlocked. You shouldn't be able to just walk into a
There
daycare.
should be a reception.
No, every daycare is locked.
Their doors are locked.
And so, okay, you bring up a fair point. Then but why can't they actually give me information how to enroll a child?
Federal law enforcement has been investigating fraud in Minnesota for several years. Both Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel said on social media they've indicted defendants. DHS has posted multiple videos of a massive fraud investigation.
Do you think that federal law enforcement hasn't done enough? I mean, they would say, look, these fraud cases have been going on, but they've already done like 80 indictments. The cases have been going on, for years.
And why did I show up one day in Minnesota and go to all these daycares, no children, they're receiving millions of dollars. We uncovered nearly $110 million in fraud in one day.
How do you know that all the allegations that you're making are true?
How do I know that they're true? Well, we showed you guys what was happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own analysis.
We're coming so we can make our own analysis. Are you 100% sure you're true?
Yeah, I am 100% sure I'm true.
CNN is looking into Shirley's claims.
Hi, my name's Whitney Wild. I'm a correspondent for CNN.
We reached out to several of the daycares featured in the now viral video. Only one daycare facility answered and said they are a legitimate business.
Have you seen the videos, purporting that some of these daycares don't have kids inside?
Minnesota Republicans say despite the new focus from the Trump administration, they have been sounding the alarm on fraud for years.
We have talked about fraud. We have gotten stories. We've tried to push this forward every way that we can.
At the daycare where Shirley showed back up, a stream of children walk inside.
You're saying that this is a fraudulent daycare. There's kids being dropped off right now.
Yes, the commissioner of children literally said a week ago this place was closed.
Did you know
They're
that?
showing face right now.
A viral video, disputed claims, and their full fallout remains to be seen.
Well, that's the way to end the show. That was a good one there. And there was a lot of intel videos, so come back for a second show unless something comes up, and I have to, but I don't have no plans, so we'll be back at 5 o'clock. Thanks, Kay. God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, hit the like and make sure everyone goes to the description box, please, and it's up to the backup channel. And stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, never give up. Signing off, Chico Dude. We'll see you in a few.